Hello and welcome to News Round, a recap of stories in the week. I am Disi Adebayo. First, the headlines. Minister of Niger Delta Affairs appears before House Committee, alleges that most NDDC contracts were awarded to National Assembly members. House of Representatives resolves to sue Minister of Niger Delta Affairs over contract award claim as Senator Akapbio denies making comment. Senate asks service chiefs to step aside following increasing insecurity in the country. Presidency insists decision is in the president's prerogative. And U.S. and China in diplomatic row as both countries close each other's consulates. News Round begins with the drama that played out during the proceedings at the National Assembly this week. First, at the ongoing fact-finding on activities of the Niger Delta Development Commission by the House of Representatives Committee. The session began with the chairman of the panel, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, stepping down following allegations of possible bias in the probe as claimed by the NDDC acting MD, Professor Daniel Pondei, who himself had to be taken out after fainting on his seat. The hearing turned into a rowdy session when the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Akapbio, took turn to answer questions, and the tables turned as he accused the lawmakers of benefiting most from contracts awarded in the NDDC.
We cannot close down Niger Delta because of the security implications of the region. Sorry, sir. We cannot close down Niger Delta Development Commission because of the fact that we are doing forensic audit. The NDDC plays a vital role in ensuring the peace and security of the region. And 90% or more of the resources of the country on a monthly basis comes from there. If you close it down in totality, all you have will be chaos. And you have a lot of, not just militancy, but you have a lot of insurrection. So it is important that people who have gone to court, people who genuinely did jobs, should be paid for their jobs. So for me, I'm not against it because, of course, who are even the greatest beneficiaries? It's you people now. Okay. Because if you look at your chairman,
Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, that's okay. That's okay.
No, can I ask you that question? What is the benefit that the National Assembly is benefiting from?
It's okay, it's okay.
Are you asking me the benefit of National Assembly?
Yes, you just said.
I just told you that we have record to show that most of the contracts in NDDC are given out to members of National Assembly, but you don't know about it.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
The two chairmen can explain to you. That is why I was a member. I was a member of the NDDC committee.
It's okay. It's okay.
Wait, you were a member of the NDDC and lot of you were a member of the NDDC in the 8th Assembly, and are you telling me that lots of jobs were awarded to you as a member?
No, this is a problem. That's why I said you
must. Then you have the right to accuse people. Then why can't you bring up the people that?
To me? One of the chairmen
if you were not awarded a contract, then why are you coming here that you are aware that you were a member of the NDDC and lots of contracts were awarded to you? You said I'm not aware. I'm telling you that bring up those names.
May I inform my honorable sister that is why we have to change the
Honorable Minister, please. It's okay. That is okay.
And in a swift reaction to the allegation by the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, the House of Representatives gave him 48 hours to publish the names of the lawmakers who benefited from the NDDC contract. At the expiration of the ultimatum, the lawmakers decided to file a legal suit against Senator Akapbio. The Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, directed the Clerk of the House to issue a criminal complaint of perjury and civil defamation suit against Mr. Akapbio. But in a move that also took many by surprise, Mr. Akapbio made a U-turn and wrote the House denying making the allegations against the lawmakers.
On the fourth day of the investigative hearing of the House Committee on NDDC, which is investigating the financial irregularities in the Commission, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs was involved in a back-and-forth argument with a member of the committee.
Wait, you were a member of the NDDC in the 8th Assembly?
He made serious allegations against the National Assembly.
I just told you that we have record to show that most of the contracts in NDDC are given out to members of National Assembly, but you don't know about it.
It's okay. It's okay.
The two chairmen can explain to you.
The following day, during plenary, the Speaker of the House of Representatives reacted to the allegations and issued a threat to the minister.
I will take this matter and this allegation and accusation very serious. And I will give the minister 24 to 48 hours. And clerk, I want you to back this up with a letter from this house. To give the minister 24 to 48 hours to publish the names, the contracts so given, the dates, because obviously these things will be documented.
48 hours later, with no response from Senator Akapbio, the Speaker made good his threats.
I've asked the Clerk of the House of Representatives to engage the services of legal counsel and instruct them to initiate a criminal complaint of perjury against the minister. At the same time, we will instruct counsel to explore the possibility of a civil defamation suit against the minister.
Moments later, he receives a communication from the minister.
It has always been known that the two chairmen of the committees on NDDC in both chambers yearly exhibit unusual influence to the exclusion of committee members and even the management of the NDDC in appropriating funds to details embellished in the budget after passage of line items at the plenaries. I never referred to members of the 9th National Assembly as beneficiaries of NDDC contracts.
Senator Akapbio also insists that he will not make public the documents since they were received from the lead forensic auditors in confidence. The Speaker further directs the House Committee on Ethics and Privileges to study Senator Akapbio's response and advise the House on the next line of action. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, there have been alarming discoveries and recommendations from the Senate committee investigating the management of the NDDC as it submits the report of its findings. Now, part of the revelations was that the NDDC spent 1.3 trillion naira between 2015 and May 31st, 2019.
The National Assembly's investigation of the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, can be likened to a blockbuster. From fainting spells, back-and-forth allegations and walkouts, it's been equal parts fascinating and disturbing. After all the drama, the Senate Ad Hoc Committee investigating allegations of financial recklessness in the NDDC presents its report before the Senate, which details the inefficiencies and corruption in the Commission. The NDDC spent 1.3 trillion naira between October 2015 and May 31st, 2019, with some of these spendings outside budgetary provisions.
We found out that the fiduciary record of the tenure of the IMC since October 2019 has not shown any evidence of performance enhancement, efficiency, or prudence in the application of resources committed to the NDDC. The ministerial oversight has been consistently weak and inadequate, therefore making the Ministry of Niger Delta culpable of negligent supervision. It will amaze us that the state of implementation of that forensic audit is at very, very rudimentary stages of recruitment of auditors in the 8 months of the existence of the IMC.
A passionate debate begins among lawmakers.
Today we are fighting corruption, but corruption is still expanding. So what's the solution, Mr. President?
we have to introduce either Mosaic law or Sharia law. Amputation, life imprisonment. Let us look at the law when we come back.
Mr. President, if you had watched the public hearing a few days ago, with the kind of contents in this report, why won't the man faint? We must also blame ourselves, because this is a clear case of lack of oversight.
The saddest part of what we are discussing is that there is no any demonstration of concern from the people of Niger Delta.
The Senate recommends that a sum of 4.923 billion naira paid to NDDC staff and contractors in breach of procurement process and approvals should be refunded to the NDDC account with immediate effect. The upper chamber is also recommending the dissolution of the Interim Management Committee of the NDDC and that the commission be taken from the Ministry of Niger Delta and returned to the presidency.
Mr. Speaker.
Meanwhile, the House of Representatives Committee on NDDC is beaming its searchlight on another development commission, this time in the north. The House is to investigate an alleged mismanagement of 100 billion naira by the Northeast Development Commission.
The 100 billion so far disbursed to the Commission by the federal government is said to have vanished under a year without any visible impact on the refugees nor any infrastructural development credited to the name of the Commission in the whole of the Northeast.
The lower chamber is giving its committees on finance and Northeast development an 8-week deadline to undertake an extensive investigation over these allegations. Linda Akapbio, Channels Television News.
And staying in the upper legislative chamber, the Senate is asking the nation's service chiefs to step aside and allow fresh hands and ideas to tackle the myriad of security challenges in the country. The Senate resolution is in response to a motion by the Chairman Senate Committee on Army, Senator Ali Ndume.
The terror unleashed by Boko Haram for years has been deadly. The biggest casualties, mostly residents of the Northeast. But beyond the Northeast residents killed, an alarming number of members of Nigeria's armed forces in the front lines against the terrorists have also been killed. A federal lawmaker warns that the recent ambush of soldiers, as well as the alleged voluntary retirement, should worry the Senate.
That just recently, 24 soldiers were ambushed and killed along Damboa-Maiduguri Road in Borno State. 19 were wounded and 9 were declared missing in action. The Senate is disturbed that in Katsina again, about 20 soldiers were also ambushed and killed, while several others were wounded.
His colleagues agree.
The latest development that is novel and unprecedented is the resignation of over 200 soldiers. This shows the level of disaffection and disenchantment in the front lines.
A senator adds to the recommendations made by the upper chamber.
Corps of service chiefs will step aside for new ideas to come in so as to energize our security system.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion as ably moved that the service chiefs step aside for new people to come in. I so second.
Swiftly, President Buhari's special advisor on media and publicity, Mr. Femi Adesina, responds to the Senate's call for the resignation of the service chiefs. In a statement, Mr. Adesina reiterates that the appointment or sack of service chiefs is a presidential prerogative, and President Buhari, in his capacity as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, will do what is in the best interest of the country at all times. However, briefing journalists, the Senate spokesman explains that the legislature has the moral duty to be concerned about the security of Nigerians.
What I can say is that an advice by elected parliament ought not to be taken with levity, even though it does not have legal binding effect. It is advisory and it shows our serious concern for security.
Meanwhile, the drama between the National Assembly and the Niger Delta Development Commission is not abating, as the committee walked the Director of Projects, Mr. Cairo Jubu, out of the meeting after he insisted that the chairman of the committee, Senator Peter Nwawoshi, step down as chairman.
He has been an active participant in the affairs of the Niger Delta Commission, both as a contractor and as an investor.
Cairo, please, I will not take this up. Let me make it clear to you. Cairo, I cannot sit down here. I can't sit down here and take this all from you. If you don't want to listen, if you don't want to, you can go. In any case, let me start with. Can we have can I have your letter asking me to sit for the chairman, sitting for the MD?
Of course.
Do you have anything? Because we did not invite you, we invited the MD.
The Senate Committee on Niger Delta convened this meeting to investigate allegations of the alleged sack of staff of the Niger Delta Development Commission. Linda Akapbio, Channels Television News.
Still to come on the program, we have more stories from the National Assembly. Stay with us. Welcome back to News Round. Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using a mobile device, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via smart TV platforms on Apple, Android, Fire TV, and Roku. And when you get the Channels TV or Channels 24 apps, you can catch up with news updates on the go, plus the Eyewitness feature designed for you to share pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Install the apps, then tap and swipe to reveal the menu and follow the instructions. The Minister of Labour has threatened to take legal action against the lawmaker, James Faleke, for his allegations against him during plenary on July the 7th. During the House Ad hoc Committee investigation of an alleged breach of presidential directive by the Minister of Labour, Dr. Chris Ngige defended his action in sacking the board of the NSITF.
Honorable Chairman.
The Minister of Labour and Employment, Chris Ngige, meets with an ad hoc committee of the House of Representatives over alleged disregard to a presidential directive issued on the 19th of May 2020. Banning ministers from directly removing or disciplining heads of agencies and parastatals they supervise. Mr. Ngige is accused of suspending top management and executive committee members of the Nigeria Social Insurance Trust Fund, NSITF. The minister begins by asking Mr. Faleke to recuse himself from the hearing, following his allegations on the floor of the House when the motion was raised on the 7th of July.
My colleague and brother in the National Assembly, Honorable Faleke, did not speak onto that motion in the way of parliamentary processes. Accusations were hurled on me. I was judged.
Mr. Minister, you also use your privilege as a minister to adjudge the suspended members of NSITF as being guilty.
Fine. It means I have another alternative. You will meet me in court after this place.
Let's go there.
Honorable damaged my reputation.
Honorable colleagues.
Because you have legislative immunity, you damage my reputation.
Honorable colleagues.
No, I will not allow you.
Honorable Chair. But I'm presiding.
Please.
When the dust settles, the minister explains his side of the story, backed with a letter from the president.
What document is that?
This document is approval from the AGF and the Chief of Staff and President.
I don't trust this document. It is poorly written. The permanent secretary doesn't know how to pronounce federal.
Some of us who are in the civil service, you started with spelling mistake. I correct spelling mistakes every day. Don't lose hope. I correct every day. Yes, even when permanent secretaries has vetted.
A representative from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation backs the claims of the minister.
Mr. President, in the exercise of his constitutional powers as the Chief Executive of the Federation, since a prima facie case had been established, directed the immediate suspension of the management team of NSTF pending a detailed investigation into the matter.
Are you aware that the circular made certain provisions for some procedures to be followed? Was these procedures followed in the case of NSITF management?
Once a position has been taken by Mr. President, the position of a circular becomes subservient to the directive of Mr. President.
When the minister requests to be handed back the letter, the committee declines.
No witness under oath tender a document and he will withdraw that document.
I didn't tender the document. I told you it's
You're
for...
under oath.
No. I say for citing. No. For citing. It's even in my submission. I wrote it down there for citing.
I'd like to bring it to the knowledge of the committee that the Honourable Minister is yet to provide the Secretariat with that document, which forms basis of the essence of this investigative hearing. I'd like to put that clear for the
Honourable Minister provided the document
is not
cited.
in my possession. Is that carried?
The committee further requests all the correspondences from the minister to the president, which prompted his approval for the suspension of some board members and top management of the NSITF. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 says it would rely more on technology in carrying out its duties to reduce the risk of members contracting the virus. The task force suspended its briefing on Monday after the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is a member of the task force, announced via his Twitter handle that he has tested positive for COVID-19. Meanwhile, the PTF says results have shown that the Madagascar herbal mixture has no curative powers for COVID-19.
Presidential Task Force on COVID-19.
It's exactly 1 week since the last time members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 addressed journalists in this hall on the national response for the virus. At the resumption of the briefing on Thursday, July the 23rd, the task force chairman explains why the briefing was suspended for a week, just as he announced plans to reduce physical contact in the activities of the task force going forward.
On Sunday, 19th July 2020, the dangers that our frontline workers face on a daily basis was forcefully brought to our consciousness when the tweet from the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is a member of the Presidential Task Force, went viral. That singular piece of information in the public space is sufficient proof to Nigerians that the virus is real and does not discriminate. The Presidential Task Force might reconsider restructuring the mode of delivering some of its activities, relying more on technology to minimize the risk associated with unavoidable physical contacts.
The Minister of Health also speaks on the final report of the Madagascar herbal mixture by the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, just as he also allays fears about Nigeria's preparedness to access some of the vaccines that are showing high potency against COVID-19.
The National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development, NIPRID, has now shared its final report on the evaluation of the COVID-19 organic from Madagascar. While the preparation at high dose showed activity in reducing frequency of cough, it did not show any evidence that it has a real curative property against the COVID-19 virus. His Excellency the President has started an initiative by which the African bloc of countries should work towards getting access to vaccines. That initiative is ongoing, to be able to make sure that Africans are not shortchanged when vaccines do come out.
COVID-19 cases recorded in Nigeria in the last 1 week fluctuates between 500 and 700 cases daily. The Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control highlights the government's efforts to scale up testing for the virus.
So far, we've tested 250,000 people. We have the capacity at the moment to test about the same amount with the reagents in the country already. So pushing very hard to keep increasing those numbers and increase the efficiency of testing.
Nigeria has only tested 247,825 samples from its estimated 200 million population. Many believe strongly that the government needs to create more awareness about testing and win the confidence of the citizens in order to get more people tested for the virus.
The news round ends with a rise in tension between the United States and China, which went a notch up this week as China closed its consulate in the city of Houston. The United States gave the Chinese side a deadline of 3 days to close the mission in the Texas city. In a tit-for-tat escalation, China also ordered the closure of the U.S. consulate in the southwestern city of Chengdu. And that's News Round this week. Thank you for watching. I am BC Adebayo.